My name is Robinson. I am from England. I am 18 years old. My father is German. My mother is English. I have 2 brothers. I have 1 sister. We are a good family. My father is a good businessman. We have money. I have a good school. I have a good life. But I have a dream. I want to travel. I want to see the world. My father is a good man. He wants the best for me. But my dream is not his dream. He is not happy. The situation is not easy. It is morning. My father is in his room. He wants to speak with me. I go to his room. My father has some questions. My father wants to know why I want to travel. My father says, traveling is dangerous. Traveling is not comfortable. You can die. I think about it. Traveling is dangerous. It is not comfortable. I can die. But it is also very interesting. I can see new countries. I can meet new people. I think about traveling every day. Maybe my mother can help me. I speak with my mother. I tell my mother, I want to travel. I want to see the world. Please, speak with my father. Maybe with your help, I can travel. My mother loves me. But she thinks that traveling is dangerous. She thinks that my place is at home. She thinks that life in England is the best for me. 1 year later, I visit one big town. The name of this town is Hull. I meet my friend. His father has a ship. They travel to London. My friend tells me, go with me. I think about it. I am not prepared. But I can try if traveling is for me. I go to London. I am very happy. It is my first long journey. It is very interesting. The first hour is good. But then we have problems. We see a storm. The storm is big. The wind is strong. The ship goes up and down. I have fear. I think about my home. I think about my comfortable bed. The storm is finished in the morning. The weather is nice. And the evening is beautiful. Everything is quiet. One man comes to me. We speak. We speak about the storm. I speak about my fear. The man gives me a drink. I drink very much. I sleep very well at night. The next day, I forget about my home. I forget about my comfortable bed. I dream more about traveling. The next day, our ship is slow because the wind is not strong. Then the wind is strong again. We go fast. A new storm comes. This storm is bigger. I am scared. The men are scared too. The waves are very big. The waves are like mountains. I see other ships. The ships are like toys. The waves play with the ships. I want to go home again. The storm is very big. The men ask God for help. Then, one man sees a hole in the ship. Water is inside. It is a bad situation. Many men go down. They pump the water out. I am very scared. I can't move. One man comes to me. He says, go down and help. So I go down. We pump the water out. I hear a gun. It is a signal from our captain. It is a signal that we have a big problem. Our ship is very broken. Our ship is full of water. We work very hard. We pump the water out. But the hole is very big. More and more water is inside the ship. The weather is better. The waves are smaller. But the ship is full of water. We need help. We see another ship before our ship. The men from the ship send a small boat. The men on the boat go to our ship. The men help us. We go on their boat. 15 minutes later, Our big ship goes underwater. We are safe on the small boat. We see a land. We go to the land. We see people on the beach. They wait for us. They help us. They give us some money. We can go to London or Hull. I go to London. When I am in London, I meet a captain. The captain goes to Africa. I think that I can make some money there. The captain tells me about the business in Africa. He tells me what to buy in England. He tells me what people in Africa need. The journey to Africa is very good. I have a lot of money after this journey. I am happy. I want to travel more. I want to do more business. I want to learn how to control the ship. The captain teaches me how to control the ship. I go to Africa again. The journey starts well. But soon we have big problems. We see a ship. It is not an English ship. It is a pirate ship. The pirates want to take our ship. Their ship is fast. Soon, they are near our ship. The pirates attack us. Many pirates go on our ship. They kill our men. We can't win. We stop the fight. Now, we are prisoners. I am young and strong. I must work as a slave. I work for the captain of the pirates. I feel very sad. I have a bad life. I must work hard. I work every day. I work in the house. I work in the garden. The captain tells me what to do. I don't like my work. I want to change my situation. I want to be free again. It is morning. I meet a young woman. She works in the house. She is so beautiful. She is also a slave. She cleans the house. I speak with her. She doesn't speak my language, but I feel that she understands me. When she sees me, she is happy. And I am happy too. Sometimes she touches me, but it is only a short moment. Slaves can't be together. I think about the young woman very often. I want to meet her every day, but she is not in the house every day. When I think about her, I have a nice feeling in my body. I think that I love this woman. I think that she is my girlfriend and I am her boyfriend. But our love is complicated. We can't live together. It is very sad. Sometimes I fish with the captain or his friends. A young boy helps us. We use a small boat when we fish. One morning, when we fish, we are lost. Fog is around our boat. We see nothing. We can't go home. The next day, the fog is away. We can go home. When we are back home, the captain says, use a bigger boat. The bigger boat is better for long journeys. One day, the captain tells me, put more food and drinks on the boat. Bring some guns too. The captain wants to fish with his friends. I prepare the boat. I put food and guns on the ship. But the captain's friends don't want to fish. Then the captain tells me, prepare the boat for usual fishing for the next day. This is my chance. I can run away. A lot of food and guns are on the boat. I prepare the boat for fishing. But I leave the food and guns on the boat. Tomorrow, I can run away. This is my plan. I think about the young woman. I want to take her with me. But I don't know how to do it. It is not possible to take her on the boat. I am sad. I don't know what to do. I want to be free. But my heart wants to be with her. It is the morning. I meet the young woman in the house. She is so beautiful. Chapter 3. Look at her. She knows that something is different. Maybe she understands that this is our last moment together. She looks in my eyes. She touches my hand. I think that she understands. Her face is sad. My face is sad too. She smiles at me. Then, she goes away. This is our last moment together. 1 hour later, we are ready. I and the boy go to the boat. One man goes with us. He is our boss for today. Soon, we are far from the land. But we can't catch fish. Then, we go very far from the land. Our boss thinks that we can catch fish there. At one moment, our boss goes to the front of the boat. I quickly push him to the sea. He wants to swim back. I take a gun. When he sees the gun, he swims away. When he is away, I look at the boy. I want to know if he is on my side. I see that he is on my side. After 2 years, I am free. We go very fast. The wind is good. The next day, we are far from the pirate land. But we don't stop. We continue. After 6 days, we must stop. We need some fresh water. We wait for the night. Then, we go to the land. When we are near the land, we hear horrible noises. The boy doesn't want to continue. He is scared. We stay on the boat near the land. But we can't sleep. Some animals come to wash in the water. The animals make horrible noises. The boy is very scared. Then, we hear that one animal swims to us. The boy wants to go away. But I don't want to go away. I take one gun. I shoot at the animal. The animal turns. Then, the animal swims to the land. The other animals hear the gun. They go away too. We stay on the boat. It is morning. We eat bread for breakfast. The boy wants to go to the beach. I go with him. We take guns. We take big bottles for water. I don't go very far. I want to see the boat. The boy continues alone. The boy returns after some time. He runs. I think that some animal runs after him. But I see nothing dangerous. He has an animal in his hand. The animal is a chicken. He is very happy. I am happy too. We have good meat and fresh water. We don't see dangerous animals. I don't know where we are. I only know that we are near Africa. I think that we are near a land where no people live. We don't see people on the land. We only hear animals. One day, when we go for fresh water, we see a lion. The lion sleeps on the beach. He is very big. He is only 20 meters from us. The boy is scared. Then, the lion opens his eyes. When the lion sees us, he runs to us. We don't have much time. I must shoot at the lion. I have 3 guns. The first bullet hits his leg. The second bullet hits his head. The third bullet finishes the animal. We can't eat the meat. The meat is not good. But we take the skin. We put the skin on the boat. The skin is dry soon. We continue our journey. We stop only when we need fresh water. Soon, we see that people live on the land. One day, we see a big group of people. They are on the beach. They have many children. They watch us. I want to stop. I want to go to the people. But the boy doesn't like this idea. He is scared. The people want to give us some food. 2 people run to the forest. They return with some food. We don't want to go to the beach. But they don't want to swim to us. We don't know how to take the food. The people see this. They put the food on the ground. Then they go back. When they are far from the food, we go to the food. Now, we are not scared of the people. They come to us. We thank the people. But we have nothing for the people. At that moment, we see 2 animals. The animals run down from the hill. The people are scared. One animal attacks a young girl. I shoot at the animal. I kill the animal. The second animal is scared. The animal runs away. The people are shocked when they hear the gun. They are also shocked when they see that the animal is dead. The people are happy that the girl is alive. They thank us. They give us more food and water. Now, we have a lot of food and water on the boat. We continue our journey. The next day, we see some islands. I think that we can visit the islands. But at that moment, the boy starts to shout. He starts to shout because he sees a ship. The boy is really scared. He thinks that it is a pirate ship. But I look at the ship. I see that the ship is Portuguese. But nobody on the ship sees us. So I shoot from a gun. They hear the gun. They see us. Soon, we are on the Portuguese ship. They speak Portuguese, Spanish and French. But I don't understand the men. But one Scottish sailor is on the ship. He comes to me. I tell him our story. Then all the sailors are very nice. We can stay on the ship. We are very happy. We offer our boat to the captain. But the captain doesn't want to take the boat. He wants to pay for the boat. It is very nice. I tell him that he can buy our boat. I give him a good price. It is a half of usual price. The captain agrees. The captain also wants to train the boy as a sailor. I don't like this idea. I think that the boy is very young for this job. I think that the boy also needs freedom. But the captain says that it is good for the boy. One day, 3 friends come to our house. They tell me that they want to go to Africa. They ask me if I want to go with them. I say, yes, I want to go with you. We start to prepare for the journey. Soon, we are ready. I say goodbye to my wife. Then we go. We want to come back 2 months later. We leave Brazil in September. Our ship is very big. But we are only 17 men. The ship is full of things for business. The weather is good but very hot at the beginning. 1 week later, we see a hurricane. The hurricane is very strong. Our ship is in danger. The hurricane is finished after 3 days. But when the hurricane is away, we have a problem. The ship is broken. We can't go to Africa. The captain wants to go back and repair the ship. But I don't want to go back. We talk about it. We think about the best solution. Then in the evening, a second hurricane comes. The wind is strong. The waves are very big. Then one man shouts, "Land." When the man shouts land, the ship stops. The sea is not deep enough. It is bad for our broken ship. The ship can break every second. We must go on a smaller boat. This is very dangerous because the boat is very small for 17 men. But we must do it if we want to survive. So we go on a small boat. The waves are very big. The wind is very strong. The wind pushes us to big rocks. We know that the crash is near. Then, a big wave comes. The wave turns the boat. I am underwater. I can't breathe. I don't see the other men. I don't see the boat. Then, my head is above water. It is only a short moment. But I can breathe. I see a small beach between the rocks. A big wave pushes me to the beach. I am still in water. But I feel a land under my feet. I know that I must stand up. I must get out of the water. The next wave can take me back to sea. But my body is weak. I can't stand up fast. The next wave comes. I am underwater again. I can't breathe again. But then another wave takes me back on the beach. I am in water. But I can stand up. I can go 10 meters. I am on the sand. I am safe. But my arms and legs are very weak. I collapse. and I lie on the beach. After some time, I stand up. I look for the other men. I can't find the other men. I am the only man alive. All my friends are dead. I only find 3 hats and 2 shoes on the beach. It is horrible for me. The weather is still very bad. But the waves are not so big. I see the ship. The ship is far from the land. I look around. I see that I have nothing. I am wet. I have no other clothes. I have nothing to eat or drink. I have no gun. Dangerous animals can eat me. I have only a small knife which I find in my pocket. This situation is really bad. How can I survive with only a small knife? I need to drink some fresh water. I find a small river. I drink the water. The night comes. I am scared of dangerous animals. I can't sleep on the ground. So, I spend the night in a big tree. When I wake up the next morning, the sea is calm. I still see the ship. I swim to the ship. I don't see a way inside the big ship. I swim around the ship twice. Then I see a rope on one side of the ship. I use the rope. Now, I am on the ship. The ship is empty. I try to find some food. I am lucky. Some food on the ship is dry. I also find a bottle of rum. I take the bottle with me. Then I hear something. Somebody is on the ship. Who is it? Somebody from my friends? It is not possible. My friends are all dead. I am scared. I go to the place where I hear the noises. Then I see who it is. It is a dog. It is a dog of our captain. Now, I have a friend. I am not alone. I must take the food, rum, and the dog to the beach. But I don't have a small boat on the ship. I must make a raft. I find some wood. I make a raft from the wood. I also need some clothes. I look for the clothes. When I look for the clothes, I find a nice carpet. I also find 4 guns and a box with gunpowder. I put everything on my raft. The sea is calm. The wind goes to the land. This is all good. Soon, I am on the beach. I look for a place where I can stay. I see a hill. From the hill, I can see where I am. I take a gun. I walk to the hill. I go to the top. I see sea around the whole place. I am on an island. I see 2 small islands near. One is to the north. One is to the west. I also see a big land to the south. The land is about 100 kilometers far. I see nothing to the east. I see only the ocean. I don't see people on the island. I see only wild animals. I see many birds on the way back from the hill. But I don't know their names. I don't know if I can eat them. I kill one bird. But the meat isn't good. I go back to the raft. The next day, I want to go back to the ship. I want to take all important things to the island. The next storm can destroy the ship completely. I make a small tent near the beach. I bring the things which can be destroyed by rain to the tent. The night comes. I lie on the ground. I put 2 guns near my left shoulder. I also put 2 guns near my right shoulder. Now, I feel safe. I am tired. I sleep very soon. I swim back to the ship the next day. I make a second raft. I put many things on the raft. I am very happy when I find 7 new guns and some beds. I take all these things to the beach. I go to the ship every day. I bring back many good things. For example, I find a lot of candles. I need candles on the island. I also find 2 big boxes of tea. I make a lot of visits to the ship. One day, I discover a box which is closed. Under the box, I find a key. When I open the box, I see some money from Europe and Brazil. Money is not important on the island. But I take the money with me. I also find cards with pictures. They are pictures of the king and the queen. I can play some games. I can have some fun with the cards. The next day, big dark clouds are in the sky. They are bigger and bigger. The wind is stronger and stronger. I visit the ship. But I don't make a raft because a storm is near. Rafts can break easily in a storm. I swim back to the beach. The wind is really strong at night. But I am safe inside my little tent. The ship is gone the next morning. I know that I can stay on the island very long. I want to make a nice place where I can live. I also need to be safe. I can look for a cave. Or I can make a bigger tent. Maybe I can do both. I need a place which is near fresh water. The place must be in shadow. It must be easy to protect the place. I also need a view of the sea. I want to see ships. I find a nice place next to a big hill. I put my tent there. The hill protects me from one side. I build a fence on all the other sides. The fence has no door. I use a ladder when I go over the fence. I take all my things inside. I have more plans in my head. I make 2 tents. One tent is big. The second tent is small. The smaller tent is inside the bigger tent. The bigger tent protects the gunpowder and the food from rains. I live in the smaller tent. When the tents are finished, I start to make a cave at the bottom of the hill. I want to use the cave for food. I bring stones and earth from the cave to the fence. I make a terrace on the inside of the fence. I still work on the cave when a storm comes one day. I see lightning during the storm. I think that the lightning can hit my boxes with gunpowder. The explosion can destroy everything. The explosion can also kill me. I am scared. I need to make a change. After the storm, I open the boxes with the gunpowder. I put the gunpowder in smaller boxes and bags. I hide the boxes and bags in the rocks. I have a lot of gunpowder, so this takes 3 days. I also hunt every day. It is a break from the hard work. And I also need some meat. When I hunt, I also start to know the island more. I discover some goats. I hunt them. Now, I have enough meat. I am sad sometimes. I think about my wife. I miss her very much. I think about my friends in Brazil. I think about my parents. I know that traveling by sea can change your life completely. Traveling can be great. But traveling can be horrible too. I know that my friends from the ship are dead. I know that I am the only person alive. I am lucky. I am also lucky because I have all the things like food, guns, and clothes. I can't survive without these things. I decide to make a big cross. I put the cross on the beach. I write on the cross the date of my first day on the island. I want to keep information about time. The cross is my calendar. I make a small cut in the cross every day. Every Sunday, the cut is longer. This cut shows the end of the week. The last day of every month is also a long cut. One day, I think about my situation. I have negative thoughts. This is not good. I want to change my negative thoughts. I decide to write all good and bad things. First, I write what is bad. I am alone on this island. I have nobody for a conversation. I have only a small chance that I can see England again. But I am alive. I am safe. I have my freedom. I have enough food. This is all positive. I don't have good clothes, but I don't need a lot of clothes on this island. I have my dog. He understands some words. He understands when I say, sit down. Come here. Bring it. Don't jump. Don't do it. I see that my situation is not perfect. But I have also some good things in my life. I need to concentrate on positive things only. I continue to make my place better and better. I make the cave bigger. I have space for many things in the cave. I am happy because my life is now well organized. I started to make some furniture. I needed a chair and a table. I used the wood from my rafts and the ship. It took me 5 days to make a chair and a table. Next, I made shelves inside the cave. I put my tools on the shelves. I put my clothes and guns in the cave too. My guns were on the walls too. I was very pleased when my work was finished. Everything was well organized. I could easily find what I needed. I decided to write a book about my life on the island. I described my days in the book. I started with my first day on the island. I wrote everything what I remembered. I also wrote what I thought. It was good for me when I put my thoughts on paper. I wrote 1 page every day at the beginning. But when I got to the present, I wrote only 1 page every week. I wrote only important events. After some time my days on the island started to be similar. But they were never boring. I had always something to do. Every morning, I walked for a few hours. Then I worked until noon. I had lunch. Then I slept after lunch for 2 hours. Then I continued my work until the evening. I made my cave bigger with the tools which I had. I wanted to have a big cave. The cave was my kitchen, living room, cellar, and sometimes a bedroom all in one. When the cave was almost done, a lot of earth fell down from one side. I wasn't in the cave when it happened. I was lucky. If a lot of earth fell on me, I could die. First, I had to clean the cave. Then I decided to put long boards on the sides and also on the ceiling. I didn't want the accident to happen again. This work took about 1 week. In December, I continued to work in my small camp. The weather wasn't very good for 20 days. It rained day and night. But it was still warm. So I worked inside. It was never cold on the island. It was good for me. At the end of December, I killed a goat. I also hurt another goat. Its leg was broken. The goat couldn't walk. I took the goat home. I looked after it. After 2 weeks, the goat wasn't scared. It could eat from my hand. In January, I traveled through the island. I found more goats in the center of the island. The animals were very shy. It was difficult to get close to the goats. I wanted to try to domesticate some goats. I only needed an opportunity to do it. I had a plan. I returned with my dog the next day. He was my hunting partner. I told my dog, "Sit down. Wait. Don't move." When the goats were between me and my dog, I hid behind a tree. Then I shouted at my dog, "Come here." He started to run to me and the goats too. I stayed in my position behind the tree. When one of the goats was close to me, I jumped and I caught its leg. But then the goat kicked me with its second leg in my nose. It hurt a lot. I let the goat go and the goat was soon gone. We weren't successful. This wasn't a good way to catch a goat. We had to do it differently. I told my dog, "Let's go home. I need some rest." I worked on my fence from January to March. It took me a long time because I wanted to make it very strong. During this time, I found pigeons on the island. Their homes weren't in the trees. They lived in holes which were in the rocks. It was easy to catch them. Their meat was great. I could also cook and eat their eggs. When I worked on my fence, I found a small bag. I remembered corn in the bag, but now there were only some leaf and dust in the bag. I took the bag outside my camp. I emptied the bag because I needed it for the gunpowder. This happened shortly before the rains. A month later, I found a few green leaves in that place. It was young corn. Words couldn't express how happy I was. I had corn on the island. It was fantastic. I could bake bread in the future. Something happened on March 16th. I was inside my cave when pieces of earth started to fall from the ceiling. I was scared. I didn't want my work to be destroyed. I ran outside the cave. I noticed that the ground started to shake everywhere. It was an earthquake. I was shocked and scared. Some big stones fell from the hill. But I was lucky. They didn't hit my tent. The earthquake was finished soon. But I was afraid to go inside. I sat on the ground in front of my tent. I started to think, maybe, it was better not to sleep in the cave. It wasn't very safe in case another earthquake came. But I didn't want to sleep in the tent. So I decided to make a house instead of the tent. I wanted to use the cave only as a cellar. The next day, I started to build the house. It was in April. It took me 3 months to build the house. But I was happy with my new home. I was ill in the last week of July. I had a temperature. I couldn't get out of the bed. I was very weak. I could do nothing in that state. I had crazy dreams. The dreams weren't very logical. But for me they were real when I had these dreams. When I came to the mark of the foot, I saw that it was much bigger than the size of my foot. It was impossible that it was my foot. I was scared again. I started to panic. I thought, I will destroy my cornfields and my valley house. I have to hide my activity on the island. I was so afraid that I couldn't sleep the whole night. I finally slept a little in the morning. My head was clear when I woke up. Now, it wasn't so strange that people lived on the islands around. I thought, maybe it was their first visit here. Maybe they won't come again. I felt better after these thoughts. But still, I wanted to be safe. During the following month I made another fence around my house and I made holes in the fence through which I could easily fire guns if I was attacked. Now I had a house which was very well protected. Nobody could come easily near me. I also worried about my goats. I divided the animals into 2 groups. I built a smaller fence in another part of the island. I put 1 group of the goats there. It took me a lot of time, but my animals were safe. It was the 16th year of my life on the island when something very sad happened. My dog died. I was crying for 3 days. I went to my goats and I told them how sad I was. They didn't understand my words, but I felt that they understood me. They felt my emotions. They were unusually calm and quiet. It was now 2 years after the foot in the sand on the beach. One day, when I was walking on the beach, I thought that I saw a canoe far in the sea. I wasn't sure, so I just continued my walk. Then I saw a thing which shocked me. The beach was full of parts of human bodies. Heads, hands, feet, fingers, and teeth were everywhere. There was a black place after a fire. I was angry and scared at the same time. They were here again, I thought. I couldn't look at this horrible scene for a long time. I had a horrible feeling in my stomach. I went back home and I thought about what to do. I decided not to go out to sea with my canoe because I had no chance against a group of cannibals in the open sea. I also decided not to use guns because the sound of a gun was very loud. But I always had guns with me for protection. I started to think that maybe in the future I could kill some of the cannibals and save their prisoners. I started to look for a place near the beach where I could hide and prepare for the attack. Then I changed my opinion. I thought that it wasn't reasonable to fight the cannibals. I didn't know these people. They didn't attack me. Maybe it wasn't good to attack them. Finally, I stopped the preparations and I decided to act only if they attacked me first. Chapter 20. Cave. I was hiding my activity on the island as much as possible. I was very careful. I tried not to be loud. I was worried when I made a fire. But I needed fire because I needed to cook. So when I made a fire, I tried to make as little smoke as possible. Smoke could go very high and it could be seen from a distance. Once I discovered a small cave in the forest near the beach. I went inside, but when my eyes were okay with the dark, I saw two eyes which were looking at me. I jumped outside. I was scared to death. I waited, but nothing happened. I went slowly to the beginning of the cave and I listened. I heard something. It sounded as if there was somebody injured inside. I took my gun and I entered the cave slowly. When my eyes could see again, I discovered an old goat. It was dying in the cave. I returned to the cave the next day. I found that the goat was dead. I looked around the place and I saw that it was very safe. I thought, it will be a good place near the beach where I could hide. So I brought some of my guns and some gunpowder there. It was 23 years since my first moment on this island. I was living comfortably now and I had many animals around me. Pole was repeating my name and some other words very nicely. I had 2 more parrots and I taught the parrots to say my name. I had more than 30 goats. It was the last month of my 23rd year on the island. I was walking to my fields early one morning when I saw fire on the beach. I immediately returned to my house and I prepared all my guns. I took my telescope and I went close to the beach. I hid myself and I watched what was happening on the beach. I saw 9 naked people. They had 2 canoes. It looked like that they were waiting for the high tide. When they left, I went to the beach. The beach was full of blood and bones again. This made me angry. I will kill as many of the cannibals as possible next time when I see them, I thought. But they didn't return for a long time. One day in the evening after a big storm, something happened which disturbed me. I heard the sound of a gun at sea. I got out of my house and I saw a light which was coming from the sea. A second shot followed. I thought that it was coming from a ship in danger which was asking for help. I took a lot of dry wood and I ran to the beach where I made a big fire. They probably saw the fire because they fired again. I thought, I will speak to somebody tonight. This is great. I kept the fire until midnight, but nobody came to my beach. It was strange. It was something what I couldn't understand. Maybe in the morning I will know more, I thought. The next day in the morning, I saw the ship. The ship stopped far from the beach. The ship looked empty. I didn't understand it. I expected the people who fired the gun yesterday. I really wanted to communicate to somebody. I missed communication with real people very much. I took my canoe and I decided to go to the ship. I wanted to see if somebody survived. The ship looked Spanish, and it was completely destroyed. When I got closer, I saw a dog. He was very happy to see me. I gave him bread and I gave him water. He was hungry and extremely thirsty. I found nobody on the ship. What happened to the men from the ship? I thought. It was very strange. I didn't have an answer to this question. It was a mystery. There were many boxes with different things on the ship. Some boxes were small, some boxes were big. Many big boxes were full of bottles with alcohol. But these boxes were too heavy. I couldn't take the boxes on the canoe. I found guns and gunpowder. I took them to the canoe. I also found some other useful things. I returned to the island in the evening with several small boxes on my canoe. I had some new shirts and also gold, silver, and a lot of gunpowder. The gunpowder was important for me. On the island, Gunpowder was more useful than money or gold. There was something else which I needed very much. I needed shoes. I found 2 pairs of shoes on board the ship. I took the shoes with me. I put all my new things in the cave. I made 5 trips to the ship. I took everything useful for me. Then I hid the canoe. Everything went back to normal. Time went quickly. I often thought about the men from the ship and the cannibals on the beach. It was one night in March when I dreamed that 2 canoes with cannibals landed on the beach. One of their prisoners ran away. He came to my house. I saved him. Then he became my friend. He helped me go through the dangerous waters around the island. I woke up, but the dream stayed in my mind. I realized that with someone's help, it could be possible to escape from the island. Maybe I could save one of the prisoners of the cannibals. I decided to watch the beach more. I went every day around the beach for the next 2 years. I hoped to see the canoes. My wish became reality one afternoon. I saw 5 canoes with more than 30 men on the beach. I couldn't attack so many men. I had to wait. I watched the visitors with my telescope. The visitors made a fire and they started to dance around it. I also saw 2 other men. They were tied. They were prisoners. The 2 tied men were taken to the fire after a while. One was beaten and killed. The cannibals painted their bodies with his blood. It was like a theater. But this wasn't a theater. It was real. It was horrible. But I couldn't do anything. There were too many cannibals. The second man waited on the side. When the cannibals didn't look, the second man jumped up and he started to run away. He was running in my direction. I ran to the beach and I hid behind a tree. I saw that he was followed only by 2 cannibals. This was the right moment to save the prisoner. The man ran as fast as possible, but the cannibals were closer and closer to him. Their speed was faster than his. I prepared 2 guns and I waited behind the tree. The prisoner ran directly to my tree. But he didn't see me. I didn't move. Then he ran around me. I was still hidden behind the tree. When the first cannibal ran close to me, I jumped from behind the tree. He was shocked. I shot him. The second cannibal saw this. He tried to shoot an arrow at me. I had to shoot him too. The prisoner stopped when he heard the shots and he turned. He was scared. I smiled at him. I showed him that it was okay to come closer. He came to me. He went down to his knees. He put his head on the ground. Then he took my foot. He put my foot on his head. I showed him to stand up. He stood up. He looked at the dead cannibals. He went to their bodies. He looked at the holes in their bodies. He probably couldn't understand what happened to the cannibals. It was unbelievable to him. He took the arrows from the dead men. We took the bodies of the cannibals. We hid the bodies in the forest near. Then we went into the deeper forest. I took the man to my cave. The cave was my secret. Nobody could find us there. I gave him bread, meat, and some water. He was so tired that he fell asleep almost immediately. I had an opportunity to look at him. I saw that he was young, slim but very strong. I thought that he was about 25 years old. He had long black hair, dark skin, and a pleasant face. I let him sleep and I went outside. I stayed near the cave and I watched for the cannibals. But they didn't look for us. 3 hours later, the man came out of the cave. He showed me how happy he was that he was alive and safe. I started speaking to him. I named him Friday. It was Friday when I saved his life. I told him my name and I taught him yes and no. We stayed in the cave that night. The next day, we went on top of the hill. I saw through my telescope that the canoes were gone. We were alone on the island. We went carefully to the beach. First we went to the place where we hid the bodies of the dead cannibals. When we found the bodies, Friday wanted to eat the cannibals. I was angry. I showed to Friday that it wasn't good to eat them. Here I understood that Friday was also a cannibal. We buried the cannibals. Then we walked to the beach. What we saw was horrible. There were human bones all around. The sand was red with blood. I asked Friday to collect all the body parts. I prepared a big fire. I decided to burn the body parts in the fire. We went to my house. I made a little tent for Friday between the two fences which were around my house. I took all his weapons away. I wanted to feel safe. After a while, I realized that I didn't have to do it. Friday was a very good and honest man. He was like a child to me. I was like a father to him. In many situations later he showed me that he was willing to give his life for me. I was very happy to have Friday on the island. I began teaching him everything what he needed to know about life like a European. First I taught him some new words. I started with hi, hello, bye, thank you. It wasn't easy at the beginning. But I was patient because I was happy that I could speak to somebody. 2 days later, I shot a young goat. Friday was scared of the gun. He didn't understand how such a small thing could kill a goat. He didn't want to touch the gun. Later I saw how he talked to the gun. He probably asked the gun not to kill him. We took the goat. We made a nice soup. Before the soup was finished, Friday went to the forest and he brought some herbs. He put the herbs into the soup. The herbs were similar to pepper. The soup smelled fantastic and it tasted fantastic too. We cooked some of the goat meat the next day with sauce. Again, Friday brought some herbs and also plants. The herbs made the sauce taste great. They made a big difference. And we made a nice salad from the plants. I taught Friday how to prepare corn and bake bread. He could do it as well as me a few days later. Then we started expanding my garden to have more corn. In all activities, Friday helped me a lot. He was also very good at catching fish. Our cooperation was simply great. We were a good team. I wanted to teach Friday to speak English very well. I wanted to teach him English as fast as possible. I wanted to be a good teacher. I took my role very seriously. I thought about the best method to teach him English. When I spoke to him fast and when I used all the words and grammar, he didn't understand me. So I tried to speak mainly in the present. And I used simple words. I also said only short sentences. This way, Friday understood more. We spoke about many topics. When Friday didn't understand something, I pointed at it. Or I tried to explain the word to him. If it didn't help, I made a picture of the thing in the sand. Soon Friday started to understand many of my sentences in the present. He also started to use some words. His pronunciation was very bad at the beginning. But it wasn't important for me. I understood him. And I was very happy that somebody spoke to me. Friday was a good student. He was clever and he was improving quickly. Soon he could say some words like an Englishman. Of course, not all the words. But the words which he said correctly made me very happy. I saw that Friday very often repeated aloud what I said. I think that it also helped him to learn so fast. I thought, learning a language is quite easy. You only need to copy what you hear, and if you don't understand something, you need a picture of it. Then you need a lot of practice. This is the best system. Friday's progress was fast. He was able to talk more and more every day. In a couple of months we could have a basic simple conversation. Friday liked my tools. They were very interesting for him. He especially liked the telescope. He borrowed the telescope very often. He went to one of the hills. And he watched everything around. Once, I asked him about his people and how he became a prisoner. He told me that they ate human meat like their opponents. In fact, in the past he did a ritual on the other side of my island. He was probably one of the cannibals who I saw a long time ago. He told me about the sea and the currents in the sea. Thanks to Friday, I learned about the history, culture, and traditions of his people. I told Friday my personal story and I described England and Europe to him. I told him about our cities, schools, ships, and traveling around the world. I told him that education was important in Europe and that we studied from books. It was all new to him. Friday's people didn't need schools on the islands. They had all what they needed for their life. When I felt that I could trust him enough, I showed him how gunpowder worked. I taught him how to use a gun. I gave him a knife and a belt. He was happy with my presents. He said that he saw a similar knife before. I asked him to tell me more. He explained that his people saved white men from a small boat and that they still lived with them. He counted 17 Europeans who lived with his people. I thought that these men could be the sailors from the ship which came to my island some time ago. They probably saved themselves in a boat. I didn't find anybody alive when I went on board. Friday told me that they were okay. I was happy to hear that some Europeans lived not very far from my island. I started to plan how to meet the Europeans. The next day, we went on a small trip around the island. First we went to the cross where I wanted to mark another day. "What is it?" asked Friday when we came to the cross. I explained that we have 7 days in a week. These days are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday are also called weekend. When Friday heard the word Friday, he laughed. I explained to him that I saved him on Friday. That's why I called him Friday. Now, he fully understood the meaning of his name. During the walk, Friday told me, "If we built a canoe and go to my island, I will tell my people how you saved my life." I took Friday to the other side of the island. I showed him my canoe there. But he said, "This canoe is too small for the 2 people. We have to make a bigger canoe." So, we started making a bigger canoe. We had to cut a big tree and I showed him how to cut the inside and form a canoe. It took us a month to do this and 2 days to move it to the beach. The canoe was ready and we were ready too. The day before we wanted to go, Friday went to the beach. He came back very quickly. He looked very scared. Before I asked him what happened, he said that there were 3 canoes on the beach. He was scared because he thought the cannibals came to find him. He said, "There is a war between 2 groups of local people. We are neighbors but we don't like each other. We had many conflicts in the past. There was never peace. We kill each other whenever we can. When they see me, they will kill me." I told him, "Don't worry. We are strong. And maybe they didn't come for you today. We will see." We took 15 guns. We went on top of a hill. We saw 14 cannibals, 2 prisoners, and 3 canoes on the beach. They stopped close to the place where the forest was near the beach. Thanks to this, it was easier to attack the cannibals and save the prisoners. We went to them quietly through the forest. I thought about my right to kill the cannibals. I had no reason to shoot so many people who did nothing wrong to me. After some thinking, I decided only to watch and attack the cannibals only if it was necessary. When we were very close to the beach, we saw that the cannibals were around the fire. They started eating the first of their prisoners. The second prisoner was still alive. He wasn't one of Friday's people. He was European. The cannibals wanted to eat him too. I decided to save him if it was possible. We moved closer to the cannibals, but we were still hidden behind the trees. 12 cannibals were still around the fire, but 2 cannibals went for the white man. When I saw this, I prepared the guns and I asked Friday to do the same. Then we fired quickly at the cannibals from 6 guns. We killed 3 and seriously injured 2 of the cannibals. The rest jumped up. But they didn't know where to run. They didn't know from which direction the danger came. Some men ran to their canoes. Some cannibals stayed on the beach. We continued to shoot and we shot 3 other cannibals. After that we took our guns and we ran to the beach. We shouted very loud. I ran to the prisoner and Friday shot the nearest cannibal. I freed the European. He said something in Spanish to me. I gave him a gun. He was weak, but he could shoot from a gun if some cannibal attacked him. The cannibals were shocked by our sudden attack. Our unusual guns scared them a lot. Only 2 cannibals tried to fight us. We shot them with our guns. Friday fought very well. He quickly killed 1 cannibal who was injured. The second injured cannibal ran into the forest. Friday ran after him and he killed him with his knife. Only 3 cannibals were able to run away. They jumped into their canoe and they started to leave. Friday shot at the cannibals, but he didn't hit them. It was dangerous to let them go because they could tell their people about us. We wanted to jump into one canoe and follow the cannibals. But to our surprise, we found another man on the bottom of the canoe. He was scared. He didn't see the fight. He only heard it. Ropes around his neck were very tight. He was in great pain and it was difficult for him to breathe. I quickly cut the ropes. When Friday saw him, he started crying. Then he laughed and he hugged the man. Then he jumped and began dancing around him. Then he cried and laughed at the same time. When the strongest emotions were gone, Friday told me that the prisoner was his father. I felt tears in my eyes when I saw the son's love for his father. This happy incident delayed us and the cannibals were already gone. Friday massaged his father's hands and feet to bring more blood to them. Soon his father felt much better. When they talked, Friday suddenly jumped up and ran to the forest as fast as he could. When he came back, he had a bottle full of fresh water. He gave the water to his father, who was extremely thirsty. After he drank, I asked Friday to give the rest of the water to the Spanish. He needed water very much too. The Spanish thanked me a lot. He couldn't walk. He was very weak. I asked Friday to massage his feet too. It helped him. Then I asked the Spanish to go with Friday's help to the canoe. We wanted to take them to our house. However, Friday was young and strong. He had a lot of power. He just took the Spanish on his back and carried him to the canoe. Then he carefully put him inside the canoe. When the Spanish was inside the canoe, Friday jumped out of the canoe and he pushed it along the beach. We soon reached the place where I saved Friday. Friday helped our new guests out of the canoe, but they weren't able to walk. We had to carry our guests to our home. We had another problem when we reached our house. Friday's father and the Spanish couldn't go over the fence. I thought about the solution. I wanted to pull them over the fence. But then I realized that the cannibals were already gone. We could stay outside the fence. We made a tent for our guests outside the fence. We prepared soft beds for them too. When we finished this, I started cooking dinner. Friday brought some fish and we cooked the fish quickly. We had dinner together in the tent. Friday translated for me because the Spanish could speak Friday's language. I asked Friday to go back to the beach after the dinner. He brought back the weapons which we left in a hurry. I also asked him to bury the bodies of the killed cannibals the next day. He did as I said. I spoke with Friday's father the next morning. I wanted to know what he thought about the cannibals. I asked, "Will they return? Will they attack us?" He said, "They will probably never attack us." The guns created a great shock. They couldn't understand how we won. I heard them shout that you and Friday were spirits sent from heaven. I still worried that the cannibals could return. But it never happened. When our guests were strong enough, I began to think about the journey by sea again. I asked the Spanish about his arrival on these islands. He said that he was on a ship which went to Havana. There were 16 Europeans on Friday's island. They were Spanish and Portuguese. He told me that the storm broke the ship near my island. They saved themselves in a boat. Now they lived with Friday's people. I asked the Spanish if they tried to make another sea journey. Of course, they wanted to go home, but they had no tools to build a ship. I showed the Spanish the tools which I had from the ship. He said that with my tools it was possible to build a ship. I thought that the Spanish and Friday's father could return to their island. They could tell other Europeans about the possibility to build a ship. Together we could go to Brazil or Havana or maybe Europe. However, the Spanish wanted something else. He said, "It will be better if we wait for half a year. There isn't enough food for 16 other men on the island. We won't have enough food to eat when we build the ship." I agreed with him. He and Friday's father helped us expand the fences and fields. We caught more goats. We increased the number of goats to 50 animals. We collected a lot of fruit. Then we dried the fruit. We also started preparing the materials for the ship. We chose a few trees. I showed the others how to cut the trees. Then we formed them into long and thin pieces. In half a year, we had a lot of food. We had a lot of corn. We needed more baskets and pots for the corn. We saw that the Spanish was very good at making baskets. He had a great talent. His baskets were excellent. He also used a special technique to make baskets. The technique was fast and effective. He made the baskets 3 times faster than me. I asked him to teach me his skill. I wasn't as fast as him, but I was faster than before. We put all the food in my cave. It was safe there. Then the Spanish and Friday's father could go back. They could bring the other men here. We gave them food and 4 guns in case they were attacked again. Then they took the canoe and they went away. 2 days passed since they left when something unexpected happened. I was woken up by Friday at about 6 o'clock in the morning. "Are they here?" I asked Friday. He said, "Not yet. But somebody else is here." I saw a boat. I went to the top of the nearest hill. I saw the boat. It was clear that these people weren't the friends who we expected. The boat came from a completely different direction. I could also see a ship. I knew this shape. The ship was English. I was confused. It was true that I was happy to see Englishmen after 27 years on the island. But I was also worried. The island wasn't near ways of English ships. Also, there were no storms recently. So why were they here? Maybe the men were pirates. Maybe they wanted to hide something on the island. I decided to be very careful. Friday and I stayed hidden and we watched the visitors for a while. The boat came to the beach and I counted 11 men. Soon I saw that they were all Englishmen. 3 of the men had hands tied together. The 8 other men took them to the beach. 2 prisoners were calm, but the 3rd prisoner tried to say something. He looked very scared. He asked the men in the boat for something. When Friday saw this, he turned to me and told me that Englishmen also ate people. I told him that they definitely didn't plan to eat the prisoners. I thought that they wanted to shoot them. After a while I noticed that this wasn't their plan. The men from the boat started to explore the island. The 3 tied prisoners sat on the beach with 2 men as guards. The prisoners looked hopeless. I remembered my arrival on the island. I also felt lost first, exactly like those prisoners. Low tide came soon. The level of the sea was low. Their boat was on the sand. They couldn't move the boat. I heard them shout to each other, "We will leave with the next high tide." This gave us some hours. Friday, and I stayed hidden until dark. Then I noticed that the men who stood the guard started to sleep. The 3 prisoners sat under a tree quite close to us. It looked like they were also quite far from the other sailors. We could come closer to them. When we were very close to the prisoners, I spoke quietly to them. We were still hidden behind the trees and they couldn't see us. When they heard my voice, they couldn't believe that somebody spoke English to them from the dark forest. "What was that?" asked one of the men. "I heard something." "I heard a tree speak," answered the other. "But it's impossible. A tree can't speak English." "Yes, you heard something, but it's not a tree," I said quietly. "My name is Robinson Crusoe. I'm an Englishman. I live on this island. I will help you if you tell me who you are." After the first shocking moment, one man answered my question. He was the captain of the ship, but some of the sailors criticized him and they started a rebellion. He, his assistant and 1 passenger became prisoners. The other sailors wanted to leave them here to die. The captain said, "The truth is that there are only 2 dangerous sailors who control the others in the group. 80% of them are still loyal to me. If the leaders are caught, the rest will return under my control." I said, "I'm willing to help you, but I have one condition. I want full control over the ship if we manage to get it back." The captain and the other 2 prisoners agreed, and they gave me full control over the ship and over their lives. We freed the prisoners. Then we went back to the forest. I gave them guns and we started planning the attack. In the middle of our conversation, we noticed that the sailors who stood guard were woken up. They stood up. They shouted to 3 other men who were near to them. At that moment, we shot the guards. Then the captain spoke to the 3 other men. He told the men to be loyal to him and help him get back to the ship. They agreed and we tied them and left them on the beach. The other 3 men who heard the shots came back. They saw that the situation changed. We were 5. We had a lot of guns. The situation was bad for them. They also agreed to be loyal to the captain. We tied these men too. We hid our 6 prisoners in the forest. Then I and the captain had finally time to talk to each other. I told him my story and he was shocked. He also thanked me a lot for my help. He and his 2 friends were hungry, so we went to my house. I showed them what I built during my years on the island. They were surprised by all things which I had. However, we didn't have much time to explore my home. We had to plan how to get back the ship. There were 16 people on board and we were only 5. First, we decided to take everything out of the boat. We thought that the sailors could send another boat to the island if the men from the first boat didn't come back with the next high tide. In the morning we heard the ship fire a gun as a signal for the boat to return. After a while, the ship fired a few times again. There was no response. Then we noticed that the sailors took another boat and went to the beach. We saw 8 men and they all had guns. The captain told me that 6 of the men were still loyal to him, but there was also the man who started the rebellion. The captain thought that it was difficult to beat them. But I told him that we had a good chance to win. But we had to act quickly. The captain trusted 2 of our prisoners. They promised to fight on our side. We gave them weapons. We were prepared with 7 men ready to fight. We waited for the arrival of the boat. When the boat reached the beach, the men jumped out of the boat. They pulled the boat on the beach. Then they ran to the other boat. They were surprised when they saw the boat empty. They tried to call their friends. They shouted. Then they shot in the air, but it was all useless. Nobody shouted back. The sailors were confused. They didn't understand the situation. They started putting the boat into the water again. It looked like they wanted to go back to the ship to inform the others that there was a problem. When the captain saw this, he was afraid that they could go back to the ship and leave the island forever. Fortunately, in a few seconds the sailors changed their plan. Now, they left 3 men in the boat. The other 5 men went to the forest to look for their friends. We continued watching all the actions of both groups. The 5 men in the forest sat down under a tree. They discussed what to do. They even argued a little. After a long conversation under the tree, they got up. Then they walked to the beach. They probably gave up looking for their friends. We had to do some action quickly. It was important to do something before they reached their boat. I had a plan. I told the assistant to go with Friday more to the center of the island and shout at the sailors. When the sailors heard this, they shouted back. Then they started going in the direction of the voice. Friday and the assistant continued shouting back. They started to take the sailors to the opposite side of the island. This strategy worked as I planned. The 5 men were soon very far from the beach. This was very good for us. We went to the 3 men in the boat. We explained the situation to them. They decided not to fight us. They became our prisoners too. After some time, Friday and the assistant returned. They went with the sailors very far from the beach. The sailors couldn't return sooner than in 2 hours. We hid and we waited for them. They were very tired when they returned. First they went to the boat. They were surprised when they didn't find the 3 sailors. They started calling their friends. But nobody answered. The leader and 2 other men started to walk to the forest where we hid. The captain and Friday attacked them when they were close to us. The leader was killed immediately. The second man was injured. The third man ran back to the boat. Then we all went out of the forest. We ran to the boat. The captain spoke to sailors. He asked them to give up. When the sailors understood the situation, they dropped their weapons quickly. We decided to tie the prisoners. But we didn't tie all of them. The captain trusted 3 of the men. We didn't tie these 3 men. Now, we were 10 men. We started to plan how to get the ship. After some discussion, we knew what to do. Friday and I stayed on the island. We had to watch the prisoners. The captain, his assistant, and the passenger took the clothes of some of the prisoners. They wanted to look like them. Then the captain and his sailors took the boat. They went to the ship. When they were near the ship, they spoke to the men on the ship. They told them that it wasn't possible to find the other men. When all of the men from the boat were on the ship, the captain showed himself and the attack began. Some sailors were injured in the battle. Only 1 person was shot. It was the second leader of the rebellion. When the captain had his ship again, we heard 7 shots. It was the signal that the ship is in captain's hands again. I was happy when I heard the shots. Soon the captain went back to the island. We hugged each other. He told me that the ship was now under my control. I was so happy. I started crying so much that I wasn't able to speak. It took me some time before I could stop crying. Then I was able to speak again. I spoke to the captain. I told him how happy I was. The captain ordered his men to bring a lot of food from the ship. We had a nice meal. We celebrated our victory and my departure from the island. We drank expensive wine. We ate pork, beef, and vegetable. We ate biscuits for dessert. I was very happy when I tasted this food again. The captain gave me clean clothes. I didn't wear clothes for a long time. The clothes were very light. They were a little uncomfortable first, but it was soon fine. When the party finished, we discussed what to do with the 5 prisoners who the captain didn't trust. The men were really horrible. The captain didn't want to take the men on board the ship as prisoners. They were too dangerous. I told him to discuss the situation with them. Maybe they wanted to stay on the island. It was better for them because their rebellion meant death in England. We went to the men and we explained the situation. They had to choose between a death in England and a life on the island. I thought that it was fair to let them decide. They decided to stay on the island. We put them in the cave. The cave was now the prison. I told them to wait for more orders. I needed some time to prepare for the journey. I had to think about what to take with me. In fact, I didn't need to take many things. I decided to take my dog, my parrot, my book, and some other small things. I also took the money, gold, and silver which I found in the ships. They were finally useful to me. I met with the prisoners again. I showed them my corn and my animals, and I told them about the island. Then I went on board the ship. We left the island on the 19th of December, 1686. It was 27 years, 2 months, and 19 days since I first stood on the island. First we went to the island where Friday's people lived. The Spanish and Portuguese sailors were very happy when they saw us. They were happy that we had a ship. Now we didn't have to build a new ship. We could go to Europe. My dog was very happy too. When he saw one of the Spanish sailors, he ran to him very quickly. He jumped on him. He was extremely happy. The Spanish sailor was his owner. He was very happy too. He started to cry when he saw his dog. It was a very emotional meeting. The sailors started to prepare for our journey across the ocean. Friday had to make a decision. He could stay with his people, or he could go to Europe with me. He needed some time to think about it. We stayed on the island one night. In the morning I asked Friday if he made a decision. He told me that he wanted to go with me to Europe. He prepared everything for the journey. We were ready to go. We started our journey. 2 months later, after a safe journey across the ocean, we arrived to London. London was the capital of England. For me it was after 35 years. It looked like the whole world changed in that time. London was a different city. There were some new houses, streets, roads, shops, parks, and big bridge across the river. But it wasn't all. People also changed. They had different clothes. Women had different hairstyle. Men had different hats and new types of guns. People used new tools which I didn't see before. They had new names for these tools. It was all very interesting. The style of music in the pubs was also different. I heard new songs. I liked this new style. I wanted to sing these new songs. From London I returned to my town, York. My parents were both dead. I found some relatives. My sister, my uncle, and my aunt were still alive. They were happy to see me, but they thought that I was long dead. So I had no rights to family's money or land. But I could stay and live in their house. England was a big shock to Friday. Everything was so new for him. He saw so many things for the first time in his life. It was all very interesting for him. He liked this new experience. What he didn't like was the cold weather in winter. It was February. Snow, ice, freezing weren't good for him. It wasn't logical to him why we lived in such conditions. I told him that in summer the weather is much better. I sent a letter to Brazil. I still knew the address very well. I wanted to contact people in Brazil. I wanted to know if my wife was still alive. I wanted to know if my plantation still existed. But I didn't know what to expect. The connection was broken many years ago. In May, I got a letter and some packets from my wife. She wrote that she was waiting for 10 years. Then she stopped believing that I was alive. She married again and she had a family. But her new husband died 2 years ago. I also got a letter from my wife's father. He took care of my plantation. In his letter he wrote detailed calculations of the expenses and profit from the plantation during all these years. They both sent me many nice presents. They sent some nice skins and a little box full of gold. They also sent me some boxes of sugar to sell. My wife had also a big surprise for me. She wrote that I had a son. It was great news. He was born 8 months after I left Brazil. He was now a big man and he wanted to meet me. So many things happened to me in a short time. It was shocking. I wanted to cry. Then I wanted to laugh. All the emotions were too much for me. I wasn't able to be calm. I stood up. I sat down. I stood up again. I walked around the room. I laughed. Then I cried again. When I was calm a little, I started to think about what to do. I thought about moving back to Brazil. I wanted to see my son, my wife, and my plantation. After some longer thinking, I decided to go to Brazil, but only for a visit. I wanted to see if I could live there again. I wrote to my wife. I asked her if it was okay to visit them for some days. With the letter, I sent nice presents to her and her father's family. Then I got a letter from my wife. She wrote that I was welcome to visit them. Her invitation made me happy. I started to plan another journey by sea. I bought nice presents for them. 2 weeks later I was ready to go. When we arrived to Brazil, I met with my wife and my son. She changed a lot. But she was still very beautiful. My son was a big man now. He was very intelligent. He had his own family too. He had also big responsibility. He managed plantations of all the family. He was responsible for a big land. My son spoke only Portuguese and a little Spanish. My Portuguese wasn't very good after so many years. I forgot many words. I remembered only some basic phrases. But with practice I started to remember the words fast. After 2 weeks I could have a basic conversation on many topics. And 1 month later I was able to speak fluently and automatically. I was very happy that I could speak with my wife and my son. We had so many things for a conversation. Soon after I arrived to Brazil, we had a big party. It was a celebration of my son's birthday and also my arrival to Brazil. Brazil also changed a lot. Many things were different from what was in my memory. Plantations were much bigger. Many people worked on the plantations. I was with my family for 3 months. I knew that I wasn't very far from my island. I started thinking about visiting the island again. I wanted to see the island for some days. Friday also wanted to see the island again. My son also wanted to go. I thought that it wasn't a good idea. I knew how dangerous the sea could be. But he wanted to see the place which he knew only from my stories. We planned our journey. 2 weeks later we left Brazil. We went on a ship which went to Havana. We had an agreement with the captain to stop at my island on the way there. When I arrived at my island, we met with Friday's people. They now lived on the island. I asked them, "What happened to the prisoners? Did you eat them?" They told me that they didn't eat Europeans. They ate only their enemies from other islands. They told me that when they came to the island, the prisoners were dead. They probably killed each other. I wanted to stay on the island and my son too. I asked the captain if he could pick us up on the way back. He agreed. I saw many children who ran around. It was interesting to see many people on the island where I lived alone for so many years. I saw that the people on the island were very happy. Friday was happy there too. He met a woman who he liked very much. Friday asked me what I thought about his staying on the island. He knew that I saved his life in the past. He didn't want to leave me without asking me. I agreed. I saved him, but he didn't have to stay with me all his life. It was time for Friday to start his own family. I was happy that he found a good woman. I was happy when I saw that they were in love. I respected Friday's decision to stay on the island with his woman. I walked around the island a lot. I wanted to visit all the places which I knew from my life on the island. I had some favorite places. For example, the Fruit Valley. I spent a lot of time there. I liked this place very much. My son liked the island too. He often walked around the island with me. I told him many other stories about my life here. We stayed on the island for 20 days. Then the ship from Havana came. It was time to leave. We said goodbye to Friday and his people. When we left the island, I had a strange feeling. I also felt tears in my eyes. I liked this place very much. It was my home for a long time. I thought, I will never see this place again.